Hey guys, how you doing? Hope you're doing okay. Gonna read through the full article. It is pretty long. There's a link in the description. I want to go through the full article really because it's quite interesting. It is, of course, naturally horrific and tragic. It involves the neglect, the abuse, and ultimately the murder or the manslaughter of a 14-week-old baby girl at the hands of the parents, or really at the hands of the father. But the mother didn't do enough, didn't do anything to step in to protect her child. So it is absolutely tragic. But there's quite a lot of detail in this article about the backstory of the parents, which is quite interesting. It provides an interesting insight. So we're going to go through the details in full. If you do like this type of content, if you like the delivery, how I'm reading through this, then please do give me some support, some encouragement, like, comment, subscribe, share the video. Perhaps have a look at some other videos. I do make multiple videos every day, or at least I try to, in regards to true crime topics. A lot of them are of this extremely dark nature, involving abuse, neglect, and murder. And if you look through the channel, you will see other, I'll say, equally awful situations which I've covered. So, have a look through that. But in any case, we'll look through the full details. This happened in England, Cambridgeshire. A farm worker who inflicted an appalling catalogue of injuries on his baby daughter while being monitored by social services was convicted of manslaughter today. Christopher Easy, this scumbag here, 31 years of age, and his ex-wife, Carly, 36 years of age, had been accused of repeatedly inventing excuses, lying, to explain bruises on their newborn baby, Eleanor. Norwich Crown Court heard how the 14-week-old girl had been fed custard cream biscuits, lemon cheesecake, given squash to drink, and left alone at the Norwich home. She died from a head injury, which was said by doctors to be characteristic of abuse. There were 3 separate bleeds on her brain, and she had 31 fractures in her body. Okay, so extensive injuries, 14 weeks old. 3 separate bleeds on her brain, 31 fractures in her body. We're going to go through the details, and we're going to see that the doctors saw marks and bruises. A lot of them were explained away by lies from the parents, notably the father. And there is baby Eleanor. The scumbag father had initially claimed that she could have been injured in her car seat when he braked suddenly whilst driving home. During his trial, he admitted responsibility for her death, saying that he had dropped her while feeding her and she had possibly hit her head on a table. Giving evidence, he claimed that she may have suffered her head injury accidentally when he shook her violently whilst he tried to resuscitate her. The prosecutor told the court that his account was a pack of utter lies. The prosecutor said he must have intended to cause at least really serious harm to that infant, to baby Eleanor, because he was aware of what he was doing. The prosecutor added that the scumbag father had been aware of the risk to the baby and failed... Sorry, I've misspoke. So the prosecutor added that the mother, the Mrs. Easy, the mother, had been aware of the risk to her baby and failed to protect baby Eleanor by leaving her with her husband. I believe the defense lawyer for the mother said that Eleanor had suffered no injuries attributable to the mother, and the mother had witnessed nothing, and there was no evidence to suggest that the mother did witness any of the abuse heralded by the father. That's what the defense lawyer has said for the mother. So the mother claimed that she didn't know about the abuse that was going on. The scumbag father was convicted of manslaughter and neglect, but he was cleared of murder after a 10-week trial. The mother was found not guilty of allowing the death of her daughter, but the mother was convicted of neglect. Both had denied all charges. The scumbag father showed no emotion as the verdicts were announced. The ex-wife, the mother, did appear to be tearful in the dock, whilst she was being sentenced. The scumbag father was remanded in custody, and the mother was bailed before sentencing. Okay, so we're going to go through some of the backstory leading up to the death of young Eleanor. So I'll mention a trigger warning. There will be details concerning the injuries suffered by baby Eleanor at the age of 14 weeks and prior to that. Hospital staff had earlier raised safeguarding fears about Eleanor over concerns that the mother had concealed her pregnancy. They also feared that that the mother had not been bonding normally with the baby in the days after her birth. Paramedics were called at 8:25 p.m. on December the 18th, 2019, to reports that Eleanor was struggling to breathe at their home in Norfolk, near Norwich. Paramedics found Eleanor pale, floppy, and lethargic, with her eyes half open, with a low heart rate and erratic breathing. Doctors ruled that she had a catastrophic brain injury, which was incompatible with life, and her life support was withdrawn 2 days later. A post-mortem found that Eleanor also had older head and neurological injuries, 31 rib fractures, and 5 fracture sites on her limbs. She was also poorly nourished, which left her severely underweight. The prosecutor said that Eleanor had died of a non-accidental injury involving accelerated movement, in other words, some form of shaking, as well as an impact to the head. So that's what the prosecutor is saying based on the coroner's report, that Eleanor died due to shaking and, I believe, blunt force trauma to the head. Okay, so this next part is going to talk about the mother and her mental issues, her emotional issues. So we're going to have a look through that. The couple married after meeting in July 2016. The mother had a miscarriage in November 2018 and became pregnant again, but the mother did not acknowledge that she was pregnant. She appeared to be in denial. She was taken to hospital by her husband in September 2019 after complaining of severe stomach cramps, but she insisted that she wasn't pregnant. She began to bleed profusely and was given an emergency cesarean. Eleanor was found to be around 2 weeks premature and weighed only 2.5 kilograms. So I think this is interesting. I think this provides a bit of an insight. The mother was in denial about being pregnant. I would suggest that indicates mental or emotional issues of some kind or other. So she had a miscarriage in 2018, and following that, she failed to acknowledge that she was pregnant when it was quite clear that she was. Eleanor was born 2 weeks premature at a time that the mother didn't realize or was denying that she was pregnant. Staff noticed that the mother was anxious about coping with the demands of being a parent, and staff were concerned that the mother did not want her baby to be brought to her bedside, leaving bottle feeding up to staff members. So again, the article is telling us that there were some difficulties between the mother and her grasp on being a mother. She wasn't bonding with the child. She didn't seem happy to be a mother. And this is happening right from the first instance. The father, the scumbag father, also lied to a midwife, saying that he was a vet when he isn't a vet. He's a cattle stockman. And the prosecutor says that this paints a picture of a couple that basically just live in a self-deluded way. They believe themselves to be different to what they are. He believes he's a vet, or he portrays himself as a vet when that's not the case. She portrays herself as not being pregnant when she is pregnant. So they don't. The prosecutor's saying that they don't really have a grasp on reality. The mother declined mental health treatment when she was released from hospital in 2019, and she simply wanted to go back to her life before she was pregnant, before she gave birth. Eleanor was said to be in a healthy condition before she was allowed to go home, and they had a social worker. The social worker noted that there was little communication or interaction between the parents and the baby. A health visitor noted that on several occasions, Eleanor had red marks and scratches on her face. The father lied and said that that was due to the baby's fingernails. There was also other bruising that was found. And again, the father would lie and come up with excuses and reasons as to why these bruises were occurring. A second bruise was found on the baby behind her right ear. Then the baby, Eleanor, was taken to a pediatric ward at a hospital where she was examined by 3 doctors who found 2 marks on her jaws and 2 near her ears. So there was this continuation of bruises appearing, and the doctors were finding them, the social workers were finding them, but the father in particular was coming up with reasons as to why they were occurring. So this just continued and continued. More and more bruises would be found, and excuses would be presented to explain them away. On the afternoon of December the 18th, the father drove the mother to work, and baby Eleanor was in the car. During the return home, the father had to make an emergency stop, so he slammed on the brakes. Eleanor's head was jerked back in the car seat. The father claims that he tried to perform CPR on Eleanor at his home after he dropped her. He called an ambulance, and he says that he may have been over vigorous whilst doing chest compressions on baby Eleanor. So I think I'm going to wrap things up at this point. I think we've gone through enough details here, but enough to say that she was 14 weeks old and she just had a litany of bruises prior to her death, which were noted by social workers and doctors, but no action was taken, regrettably. And she's died at the age of 14. 14 weeks. She was taken off life support due to severe brain injuries, and thankfully, the father has been convicted of manslaughter. I don't know why he's not being convicted of murder. So again, thankfully the father's been convicted of manslaughter. They're both due to face sentencing in late April. So let's hope that the father gets as strong a sentence as is available. There's no death penalty in England. Boris Johnson has said that there ought to be new laws put in place such that anyone convicted of child murder will automatically get life in jail. However, in England, life doesn't mean life. You can be sentenced and still get out after 8 years. That's quite possible. In this case, the father, despite being convicted of being responsible for the baby's death, has not been found guilty of murder. He's been found guilty of manslaughter. So the sentence is, I'm going to be concerned and say it's not going to be enough. We'll find out what it is late April, due to be sentenced April 29th. But I guarantee it's not going to be enough. It's not going to be enough. It's only going to be in regards to manslaughter, and there will be parole, I believe. And no one's going to be happy with the conviction. It's going to be too soft, I know it. So I'm going to wrap things up here. If this is the type of content that you like, please do support, like, comment, subscribe. I normally say condolences to the family of the victims. It's not really appropriate to say that. Condolences to the extended family. But let's just hope that, regardless of how light the sentence is, let's just hope that when the father is in jail, when he is in prison, that he does have the opportunity to mix with other inmates. And let's just hope that those other inmates have the opportunity to have a nice little chat with this scumbag father about his treatment of his daughter, who died at his hands at the age of 14 weeks. At the age of 14 weeks, had to be taken off life support due to extensive brain injuries. Suffered 31 fractures, 3 brain bleeds, etc., etc. Let's hope that the other inmates are able to have a little chat with this guy and express their feelings, what they think about it, about his treatment of his baby girl, his newborn baby girl. How do they feel? So I'm going to wrap things up here. Again, thank you for your time.